So you might notice I didn't have as many videos this week. It's just been very busy for me, just both at work and doing some other work outside at home. And a lot of the issues that I wanted to cover, I simply can't keep up to speed with them. So, of course, I do listen to some shows at work or something, and I try to stay as up to date as I can. I'm sure a lot of you could probably relate, but this is really an issue that I find very important. It's important to me personally. I do believe that, the values of the British Enlightenment are basically what has created, what have created the society that we live in, a freer society here in the USA, as well as in most of the English-speaking world. Up until today, it's been a free society. Unfortunately, because of the way that the telecom industry, the media, academia, political class, the industrial class are behaving, it's becoming much less of a free speech society, and it's very sad that it's that way. Even though these economies are not necessarily totally socialized, we're seeing basically a consensus being formed. I think a consensus can be forced on society whether you're in a right wing or left wing system. I'm talking about economic system. I'm talking about social mores system. I think that one of the problems with the Western world is that the political class always wants to arrive at a consensus that's very convenient for them. And that's why, the Brexit movement or the Eurosceptic movement, which is what it was traditionally called before Brexit, Euroscepticism was about rejecting the consensus, rejecting what was forced on the voters, and saying, no, we want people to retain their individual rights, be represented by people that are accountable to them, are as close to them as possible so that they can be held accountable. And I'm sorry, but the people who are running the media organizations, they don't want that to happen, because they want people that will easily digest their content and just ask for more, and day after day they'll just consume it without the slightest bit of skepticism. And that's really why I don't fit into a political camp. I think the Brexit supporters, that's really those are people I really identify with. But I don't even live there, so what does it matter? So I believe it was technically it was 2 days ago. So because it's Britain, it's 5 hours ahead, and I missed this yesterday. But this week, Nigel Farage quit UKIP. It's a sad day for everybody concerned. Let's listen to some of his statement. I listened to a longer clip of it, along with Sargon of Akkad's response and Gerard Batten's response. But here we go again.
Damaging UKIP is one thing. Damaging the Brexit cause is even worse. And I, with a very heavy heart, given how much I've cared for this party, the people within it, have reached, I think, a very sad decision, certainly very sad for me, that I simply can't go on with it. I have, as of now, resigned my membership of UKIP, cancelled by standing order at the bank. I'm no longer a member of UKIP, which, hey, it's made up the biggest part of my adult life. It's a very sad thing to do. But there it is. It's done.
So there you have it. He basically has quit UKIP, and I think it's a very big tragedy for people who believe in the sovereignty and the movement of basically reducing this international order of organizations like the World Bank, the IMF, the UN, obviously, the European Union. You can go on and on, reducing their capacity to enforce laws on private citizens when they're not accountable. The European Union isn't accountable to the average voter in any of those countries that are part of the European Union, whether it's Greece or it's Spain or it's the UK for the time being, even though Brexit is basically being torpedoed by the government's leadership. The nation's leaders are supposed to at least faithfully execute the popular will. Now, yes, the foot dragging is completely obvious, but the actual compromising of every single point of what the Brexit voter supported, that's not within the realm. They wanted to do this. Now we'll get to Farage's reasons for quitting too, and that's where he's wrong. He's absolutely wrong. But what's happened recently is that the parties, the main political parties, the Conservatives and Labour, they don't want to actually respect the mandate of the people that went out on July 23rd, 2016, and voted clearly that the United Kingdom would not be part of the European Union. They would reject the customs union, all of reject the European Court of Human Rights and all of their institutions. Those countries that want to remain part of Europe, I guess they can do it. But if you're looking today, I haven't done much to cover what's happened with Macron. I would like to, but I just, like I said, I'm crunched for time. But the what's happening on that continent, it actually vindicates what Farage was saying for many years, that these are not leaders that are in tune with the day-to-day concerns and needs of the people that elect them, the people that pay their salaries. They don't care about that. They're accountable to the lobbying groups and the centers of influence, big industry leaders, various pressure groups, various elite organizations that they're a part of, the Davos group, and that everybody wants to talk about how evil of a person Stephen Bannon is. Let me tell you something. What's happening in France right now, Stephen Bannon warned about it. If people would have listened to that, if people would have, Macron could have avoided this. Okay, Macron could have not gone and become a total sellout to this climate change, pseudo solution. If you believe in climate change, that's good for you. But what Macron was proposing, this tax, would not have solved any of that. Charging people more money in order to fill up their car with diesel or gasoline does not solve the climate change crisis. Okay, people still, at the end of the day, they have to get to their workplace. They have to get to, pick up their kids from school, whatever it is that they're doing. And those riots in France, they can happen elsewhere too. I believe the day will come, unfortunately, when you will see rioting across Western Europe. And these people, they want to believe, oh, we have our infinite wisdom. We know how to run the country better than the people that elect us. In the United States, we had a senator today, Mazie Arano of Hawaii, who was asked why it is that the Democrats didn't have better success with voters during the election. And she said, well, it's because we just apparently are a little too smart, meaning the politicians are a little too smart. So with that type of attitude, is it any wonder that there isn't trust in government? If the politicians believe that they're smarter than the voter, okay, which is, it could just be her being honest, but then do they really, are they really committed to fulfilling the public trust? I don't think so. I think if that's the way she expresses herself about the people that are voting for her, absolutely, they're taking them for granted. Now, what Farage used as his excuse for resigning from UKIP, leaving the party, the UK Independence Party, a party that was founded uh, in the early 90s in order to fight European integration. What he used as the excuse was the decision by his successor, one of his successors, Gerard Batten, who is the chairman of UKIP, to try to reintegrate Tommy Robinson into the political system, have him be able to join UKIP. And Farage was saying that it was on the basis of the party's commitment in the past not to admit members of quote unquote extremist organizations like the English Defense League and the National Front. Now, I understand that the reason UKIP did that was to prevent entryism from the identitarian white nationalist movements of Britain. You know, white nationalist, white supremacist movements. Some of them are neo-Nazi movements. The National Front, for example, for many years was a neo-Nazi movement. They were open and quite frank about it. I mean, that was their belief system. So UKIP did not want that type of element in their party. They very much worked in order to establish this non-sectarian, non-racial. I believe they let people of all different sexual orientations in, all that stuff. What's her name? Anne Marie Waters for a long time was a member of the party. So I would say that I think Nigel Farage in the depth of his consciousness, he wanted to transform UKIP into the real conservative party as opposed to the conservative party such as it is, which is not really, their belief system is kind of just very centrist, very reactive. They don't really have a vision that people can get behind. And that's why he saw Tommy Robinson and possibly some of his past associations as a threat to that image that he was going to build for UKIP. And he was wrong about it, because the truth is that Tommy Robinson's work dealing with Islamic issues pertaining to Islam in Britain, the rape gangs, which a lot of these people, let's face it, they're doing it because of some religious or communal abuse towards other people due to their difference in religion or race. He's trying to paint Tommy Robinson as the person who's wrong about this issue, and Tommy Robinson is the threat, and Gerard Batten as Tommy Robinson's enabler. Look, Nigel Farage is wrong. Those people are expressing an actual need of local people in many of these British towns, English towns, wherever they may be, probably also in Scotland as well, to have due process for the victims of sexual abuse. Okay, I talk a lot. I do defend people that are defendants in a lot of these accusations. You know, some of these people have been accused of crimes. You know, just yesterday there was this big story about Neil deGrasse Tyson being accused of sexual harassment. And, I mean, it could have happened. I'm just saying, I would say, I read those stories. I was like, what? So, I believe in due process for the defendant, for the person who's alleged to have committed the crime. And I believe in due process for the victim as well. And Tommy Robinson is one of the few people around the world that are really willing to do that. I think that it's valuable for people like you or I. We go, maybe you're not like me, but let's say you are. you kind of go to work the whole day, come back, you're not able to actually go to any of these events that they put on, demonstrations, rallies, whatever it might be, actual in-person appearances, things like that. I think that it's a tremendous service for people like us that can't actually participate as much as others in these processes, that there is somebody like Tommy Robinson who does do it. Tommy Robinson does do some type of journalism. It might not be your style of journalism. I've talked about how I think Laura Loomer, some of the stuff she does is kind of bullshit. Okay? And yet I respect some of the other things she does. I absolutely respect what Tommy Robinson does. And for Nigel Farage to say, well, this is the reason I would quit UKIP. Look, man, when you form a party in order to change the status quo, you cannot object to other people who challenge the status quo, like Tommy Robinson. You can't claim that. Well, I want to challenge the status quo, and they're trying to change the status quo is hurting how I'm doing it. If he has differences of opinion with Tommy Robinson, I think that they can settle it in a more civil manner. Tommy Robinson goes all the time to appear before much more hostile audiences. So I think this is just Nigel Farage having this phobia of being perceived as a hateful person, which I think in his heart, I think he when he took this radio gig, he's on Leading Britain's Conversation, which is one of their talk radio platforms. You can see behind him the LBC logo. When he took on that role, he realized that one of his talents is talking to people, on the phone, just listening to them, responding to them, interacting. People get social that way. That's what they like to do. And I believe that he craves that type of setting where he gets to socialize with people. He's not an administrator. Nigel Farage is an activist. I don't know if he would make a good prime minister of Britain, but it would seem from this action that maybe not. And it doesn't make me happy to say that because he's one of the statesmen and commentators, political activists that I've always admired the most. But I want to hear what you guys think. Who is in the right? Is it Nigel Farage? Is it Tommy Robinson and Gerard Batten? On the other side, Sargon of Akkad also is. And do you think that there is still a way for the British Brexit movement to basically overturn Theresa May and her obstructionism? That's about it. Please like this video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to my BitChute channel, which is @chefleopard. Also, please look for me on Gab @Starscream85, as well as on Minds @chefleopard. And you can probably find the Patreon link below if you want to send me a tip. And I'll see you guys later. Have an enjoyable Thursday.